you check the children.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, here from my side, I am Cecil. I am the writer and director of the film. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
Cecil.
very much. Let's give it up here to my left is Ben Meredith, the director of photography.
Yeah, Ben.
Of course, the star of the film, he who it all hinges upon, Miko Hughes. Producer and first assistant director, Vince DiSanti. And our amazing editor, Mr. Thom Newell. We also have others in the crowd. If anyone's curious, we've got some other people that can jump in, including Courtney, who played Joy, the casting assistant. And is Sarah around too? Oh, yep, we have Sarah Schultz, who was our nurse on the phone as well. And then for those of you that want to stay after the Q&A, our man Josh Schultz over here has directed a behind-the-scenes special that we're going to watch basically the first 30 minutes of. It's intended to be a full-length behind-the-scenes feature that will go on the Blu-ray for the film. So, thank you, Josh. All right, so let's get to the Q&A. What questions do you guys have for me or anyone else here? Yes, sir, we'll start with you.
I think that was a nice little loophole to be able to work non-SAG is what that was. To work on a fan film. But I tried to help out and do what I could. Yeah,
absolutely.
And
Miko was a big guiding force creatively behind the film, too, because he was the person that kept us on track a lot of the time. And Miko, you know, works in Hollywood behind the scenes a lot nowadays, and he knows what's what. And so he would sometimes step in and be like, hey guys, let's make sure we're keeping on task and stuff like that. And so he was actually a big motivating force behind, you know, the production all along the way. So I think that more than deserves a producer credit.
Oh, thanks, man. It was fun. I tried to pitch in where I could.
That and for the name recognition as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
the fact that, you know, a lot of people are tuning in to see this movie because you're coming back and reprising this role, it's definitely worth it to give you that type of, because, I mean, you are the marketing.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I didn't expect that part of it, but thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, I mean, how awesome did Miko do? For not acting for a long time.
I'm a little rusty, but thank you.
He absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it. What other questions do we have? And I'll run the microphone out to anyone. Any questions? Yes. All right. Let me get down to the ground here.
Just a question for all of you, I guess, in general. You said you shot it largely in Chandler. How'd you all meet and get together to produce something so quality?
Do you want to take that one, Cecil? Should
Yeah, I
hop
mean,
in?
I'll do a little bit. Let me run back up here.
Maybe to save time for the questions, do you want to just repeat it into the mic, what they say, so we get it
Yeah,
on record?
absolutely.
And then
So we did shoot the film locally in Chandler, and his question was, how did we all kind of get together and come to form this team? And realistically, I made the horror show channel with my friend, producer Dave, in 2014. We did a lot of stuff for the channel, and one of the things was interviewing Miko, and I presented the idea of doing a fan film, and Miko was about it, and I told Vince about the idea. He liked the idea. He had made Never Hike Alone, and he was a wonderful creative guiding force. And then with Vin came the recommendation to bring on Ben, which after working with Ben myself a little bit when we were doing the Disappear music video, I was actually excited to bring Ben on in the director of photography capacity. And then once we got to the editing stage, we were lucky enough to bring Thom on, again, thanks to Vin. Vin is a producer in every sense of the word on this film, made lots of connections for us, and the film is all the better for it. So that's kind of how this team was assembled.
Yeah, and then don't sell yourself short. I mean, Cecil was obviously the driving force. This was his original idea. Brought us all out here to Arizona and Phoenix locally to shoot at Sun Studios, where a majority of the opening scene was shot. We had a what neighborhood were we in with that house?
That was in Tempe, and then the Airbnb that we shot at was in the Chandler area as well.
Okay. So yeah,
Tempe and Chandler.
Yeah, so we shot most of it out here, and then obviously this is a film that takes place in Los Angeles, so we wanted to give it a little bit of that flair. So Cecil came out to us. Ben, Miko, myself, and Thom are all in LA. We did some pickup shots down in Malibu, Santa Monica, Burbank or Glendale for yours? Burbankish. So picking up and picking up shots that made us feel like bridging both worlds together. You would never know that a majority of the film was shot in Arizona, but just little pieces of it make it feel like it's happening right in the heart of Hollywood.
Yep. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, I'll run the mic over to y'all.
So repeating the question for everyone, and I don't know if this is being recorded, he asked if there's any possibility that would come back. Are we shooting another one?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of up to you guys. That's up to the response. If there's enough of a positive response, enough that we can fund the next, the rest of the story, then that's the goal. I mean, again, Vin set sort of a template. He made Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, and then he had 3 more parts to his story, but he crowdfunded it in a full-length feature to finish the story. So that's what I would like to do. The Dylan's New Nightmare story is about 3 to 4 more parts, and so I would like to bring it all together and just film a full-length feature. Yes, you had a question as well, right? Go ahead. Okay, so yeah, let's
That's
just
one for Thom.
for each of you, let's answer the question. So Ben, favorite scene to shoot. Miko, favorite scene to act. Vin, favorite scene to produce. Thom, favorite scene to edit.
Favorite scene to shoot for me is probably Miko waking up, just because that humanizes the story so well, and it allowed me to be dark and moody, and that's so cool for DPs right now. But it just I just feel like that is what connected to the character and like the humanization of the story. But obviously, anytime Freddie was in front of the camera, it was super fun.
Oh man, to act, I think it's moment to moment. There's some lines where I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that, and then there's other ones I kind of like, So I don't know if there's one scene that landed everything. I really like the opening scene, but I also like the psychiatry scene just because it's really getting into like character stuff, and yeah, I think they all have their moments. So I'll go with that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the opening scene just because it like really kicks things off with a bang. Just shooting in Sun Studios was such a pleasure. They helped us out a ton. The set itself. Shout out to Josh Schultz, who's not only doing the BTS, was also a production designer. Very proud of the work that we were able to do in the psychiatrist scene. It was one of my favorite sets I think we've ever been able to put together. But I would say that I'm really proud of the fact that we did make this feel like it was shot in Hollywood. That the interstitials, the shots of LA, the way that came together, the way it sort of bridged it all. The fact that we got an earthquake in there a week after we actually had a real earthquake in LA, we got that
Which
perfect.
kind of happened in the original too. They had the Northridge quakes, and
yeah.
then they used the footage in the film.
See?
That it worked. It was kind of serendipitous.
We know what we're doing.
Maybe there's something to that.
I planned that earthquake.
We're tuning into the entity. We're waking him up.
My
Art
favorite
becomes
scene
life.
to edit would have been, it's actually like a very specific edit or non-edit. In the audition sequence, when Miko is giving his lines in character of the audition itself, and then we have our little beat where the light turns on, and he's still in his character, and then we come back to it, and he finishes the monologue, and then we don't leave the shot, and he comes back to being Dylan. So he's the auditioner, then he's Dylan. And we could have cut away, right? We could have cut to the casting director or to any other coverage we had, but we didn't because he was able to perform it in one. And we didn't cut away. We didn't have to cut away, and we never cut away. I cut it that way in the editor's cut. That's how Cecil had it the first time. We went through it together. That's how we continued the scene as we developed it through the producer notes because Miko was able to pull that shit off. So that was great for me.
Thanks, man. That's cool. Yeah, I love hearing your insight on that, and that moment is really cool. So thank you.
All right, what other questions do we have? Yes, sir.
So, Miko, how did it feel coming back after like 20 years and reprising a role like this?
First of all, I feel betrayed. Who else signed your forehead? I thought I was the only one. Okay, I'm in worthy company. I was going to be mad, but it was fun. I kind of was like overacting for a long time. I stepped away from it. It wasn't really a pursuit anymore, and the way this came together and came back, it felt safe. It felt like something I would want to do, where a lot of the stuff I was auditioning for, I knew I wasn't right for. I was just going through the motions. My heart kind of wasn't in it. And this, it was kind of a gimme because it's like, well, you've already played the character. It's on a platter. Like, why not just go for it and do the best you can? And it was really fun to like kind of stretch that muscle and get back into it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'm my own worst critic. I usually don't like watching anything I've been in. And this one, I'm still able to enjoy at this point. I'm sure I'll be sick of it eventually, but I can still watch it and be happy with it. So yeah, I feel good it was nice to be able to do that again. So.
All right, who else has a question? Yes, back in the back. Hardest scene to write, did you say?
How about we go down the line, each of from our own perspective? What was the hardest for each?
Hi, guys. Hi from down here. Hi, how are you? So, you know, the hardest stuff for me was, it's weird. My writing process is pretty simple. It's close my eyes and watch the movie play out in my head, and I write down what I see. And so, you know, and then I go back and fine tune it when everyone else tells me it's shit. But no, luckily that doesn't happen a terribly, you know, a huge amount or anything like that. The first draft that I brought to Vin was enough to bring him on board, and then same with Miko. So the hardest thing is making sure that I'm doing right by Miko. You know, I didn't want to bring him back into the fold and give him substandard material to work with. And I think I am happier than I ever anticipated being while I was writing it, because he pulled off what could have otherwise come off as relatively cheesy material when you're down to it. You know, with the psych scenes in lesser hands, it could have come off poorly. But Miko took what I wrote and was able to make it sound somewhat natural, you know, did a real fantastic job with that. So I just wanted to make sure that I did right by him. So I second-guessed myself at times, but ultimately I think we landed in a place that it really exemplified what he can do as an actor. So yeah, that was for me.
So I'm going to toss that back at you real quick and say that it's so hard to say terrible lines, and your writing was very easy to find something to do with. There was meat on the bones, and so often it feels like there's not, at least on the things I had been auditioning on. So you helped a lot. Yeah, you made me a better actor with your writing.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. That means a lot. Ben.
Hardest scene to shoot for me was probably the therapy scene, psychiatrist scene, just because as a DP, when you're trying to make something interesting, it's heavy on the dialogue, but the dialogue's important, so you have to find interesting ways to just make two people talking engaging visually. Hopefully it was, but yeah, that's up to you guys. Yeah, okay, cool. Then I guess we did our job.
Yeah, that's why I was worried about Never Click Again, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I was so tired of her clicking that pen." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Build it up to knock it down.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the hardest for me was the dream sequence, just reacting to Freddy. I didn't want it to be too little or too much. It's a weird thing. It's kind of, and that was the first day we came back filming. I think there's a few that really land. So, some of the later shots, I was like, oh, I needed to stay in that zone. I think it plays, but that whole, there was just so much going on in that scene. That was there was the whole monologue right before that of like auditioning, doing an audition, acting an audition, which is weird, meta, and then freaking out and going into this whole nightmare action thing. That was wild, but it was also really fun. It might be a tie between that and the very last scene when you're like, how about a tear? Do you think you could? I'm like, dude, I haven't done this in 20 years. Like, chill, bro. I hope it reads well. But
it was a little dark to read, but yeah.
On the 4K, maybe. There's a little baby one. I got lucky.
Beautiful tear. So. Right into the light of the window, guys. He knows how to roll a tear like a pro.
No, those were my toughest. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go with the psychiatry scenes, the death scene in particular. You know, that's towards the end of the week. Like, I'm thinking like an AD now. Like, you got to run the day. You got so many hours to shoot. You got to get a bunch of stuff done. There were a lot of setups for that scene. There was a lot of moving parts. There was visual effects. There was a room that we sort of had to split in half and not see part of, and like really make sure that it felt like it was another part of something else. And so there was a lot of things to pay attention to. Plus, it's the end of the week. It's getting late in the night. We're shooting late into the night, so to keep everybody sort of focused and not make mistakes. Like, you would think like the opening scene would have been the toughest because there was a lot of technical challenges, but we had 2 days on set with that. We were shooting during the day on a sound stage in a very controlled environment. You know, we had some VFX stuff that we were doing, but it was like, we had time and it was paced out. Yeah, the scaffolding stuff and doing all there, but yeah, it's funny, that last scene, there was so many additional challenges that unless you were there, you wouldn't even understand it. Like, when he hits the arm, how's the arm gonna move, and like animating the arm to flip the right way, like little things like that. So there's a lot of nuances in that last scene, and I'm really happy the way it came out the way it did.
Great, and I'm just going to repeat what Ben said. The hardest scene was the therapy scene. Editorially, like, again, a lot of really important information, and every time we would go in and change something to explore, because half of editing is undoing and just exploring and seeing what you can do, it's a cascading effect, you know, and you have to follow the performance. So if you choose a different take, you're changing takes like 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down the way. And ultimately, I think we found a way for it to work, giving us our info, but hopefully still also be entertaining. So.
Yes, go ahead.
You nailed that tear. Do you have something that like triggers it that you think about?
Oh, the trauma. Movie magic. Yes, sir. That was, when you first approached me, that was my first and biggest concern, because I know what big shoes Robert's are to fill.
Yeah, and I brought a cosplayer up to your table, too. I was like, here's a script. I think it's pretty good. Here's Vincent to lend credibility. And by the way, here's the cosplayer. I want to be Freddy for our film. And he looked good, but, you know, ultimately his heart wasn't in it. And I didn't want someone whose heart wasn't in being Freddy, you know what I mean? Especially with Miko on board. And
that was just a mask. We improved leaps and bounds, like orders of magnitude past that.
Yeah, thanks to Nora Hewitt and Mikey Rotella, who put together the special makeup effects for the film. If you didn't know, so Nora Hewitt won season 9 of Face Off, if you weren't aware. That show on Sci-Fi Channel is amazing. She's an incredibly talented special makeup effects person, and she had a man named Mikey Rotella do the sculpting. And just so you know what else Mikey has worked on outside of the uber number of things that he has worked on, he created the Smile Monster at the very end of Smile from last year, which I'm sure a lot of you guys saw. That was his sculpt. So yeah, very talented. So he made our Freddy, and Nora applied and painted our Freddy, and Dave acted our Freddy, acted the hell out of our Freddy. His goal the whole time, I'll speak for him since he's not here, it was not to do a Robert Englund impression. It was to make sure that you saw Freddy more than Robert, and I think he succeeded. So that's how and why we got Dave involved. What else do we have? Yes?
Did you see any money from LaCroix, or was that?
That was a preference from the actor.
I was supposed to get something from the fridge, and I even said, I was like, do we need to like turn this? Is this like looking too much like a commercial? And they're like, no, it's good. No one will notice. Thanks. Told you they would.
And yeah, in the age of digital filmmaking, you can't say no one will notice anymore. Freeze frames abound.
It is my favorite flavor, though, so promote it.
So anyone that wants to give
Pamplemousse
Miko
all
a
day.
gift,
So next con, you know what you're bringing to the table.
Oh, is that a meme now? Is it all bring the pamplemousse when it's DNN in the house?
Dylan's new La Croix.
There you go. There you go. Any other questions? Yes.
So it's kind of for both of you on the end. So I know, Ben, you did Never Hike Alone, which was a Jason film, and then I know you did Chucky. So what was it like switching gears to another horror icon for both of you?
Well, I'll let you start, Kevin.
Well, let me tell you, these are not the only horror icons I've worked with.
Yeah. Go ahead. Flip out your bona fides, Dick.
I am actually a Ghostface in Scream 6 as well.
He literally is.
Yeah. So
If
it's
you
a
saw Scream
spoiler.
6, yeah.
It is a spoiler, but I worked with Ghostface. I do edit the Chucky television show. Worked on a few Godzilla films, and now Freddy. There's nothing to switch because they're all so different. You know, they're totally every single one of them is different. So there's there is no switch. It's just like getting to work on something that's really fun. And honestly, not for nothing, like these guys treated me really well. And that is not necessarily the norm. I'm not speaking about the projects I just named. Actually, Chucky, Scream, great projects, great people. But it's a hard job. And this one was not a hard job, so.
Thom was incredible to work with.
Well, and one of the things, too, for Thom is I remember it as we were getting into the post thing, and I'd worked with Thom previously on a Wampstomp Films production called Pathosis, who he cut for a good friend of mine, Austin Bonang. I remember Thom saying he was a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, and so I was like, you know what, you want to put a fan in the shoes. Like, we needed a fan standing there looking at everything. You know, we were on set, so we get connected to things. We love certain shots because certain things happen. That editor comes in, they have a fresh perspective. So
sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees when you've seen it so much.
Yeah, like all of a sudden you're like, well, we spent 3 hours working on this shot. Like the editor doesn't know that. He doesn't care. If it doesn't work in the shot, it's not going to work in the scene.
I definitely don't care.
I don't care.
Absolutely not.
So it's good to have someone in there. As far as like jumping from Jason to Freddy, obviously Jason's my number one, but from my perspective, I'm not looking for anything for very specifically Freddy. I'm looking for the passion in Cecil that he has for Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm trying to help him connect to the other fan base, the fans like him, and just make those connections. And I just try to be a smart fan and ask questions. I try to be the first audience member when I'm reading the script, when I'm watching a cut. I want to be the first person who's going to be a naysayer or do those things, because we have to be ready for those questions, because we have to make sure that the decisions that we've made are going to resonate with the people who are watching it. I mean, obviously we make, as filmmakers and actors and artists, we make things for ourselves, but we want other people to enjoy them. We want you to come and see it and see things that you've always wanted to see there. So those are the questions that I ask Cecil. Obviously I'm a big Freddy fan too, but my knowledge of it isn't as much. So I would always ask questions when I was confused about something, about like, well, what's the logic here? How does it work in the, in the mythos of Freddy? How does it work in this world? And so it was always just asking those questions for somebody who is not on top of it as the other fans, to make sure it's not all inside baseball, that if you're a casual Freddy fan, if you never watched Nightmare on Elm Street, or you're a diehard fan, everyone is being satisfied. So that's the way I always try to approach it.
That was one of the fun things about working with Vin. One time I asked him, because I know he works with a lot of important people and does a lot of big projects, and a lot of people want his help. He spent a lot of time helping out this project, asking nothing for himself, like literally nothing for himself. And I asked him, I was like, what do people say to you about working with me on this, like basically an unknown? He says, well, I tell them two things. I say he listens, and he has answers to any questions that I ask him. And like, that's all it takes, is making sure you're prepared and making sure you have the whole idea fleshed out. And yeah, just making sure you can answer. That's the thing about being the director, right? You have to be the guy that can answer any question on set. I didn't know how to answer every question on set, which is why I enlisted Vin's help. But I knew how to answer the questions that he had so that he could best help the production overall. And that's part of what I loved about this. It's emblematic of the teamwork that is inherent with this team that we've built. I mean, the wrap party for this production was one of my favorite things I've ever experienced, because everyone was so pleased with the work from the week. I mean, I haven't worked on that many projects, but the fact that so many of us every night after shooting 12-hour days would be up until 3, 4 a.m. just reviewing the footage and being so excited. Like, seeing Vin look at footage and literally jump up and down in excitement was like, I mean, that feeds the soul for a creative. So I'm hoping that everyone else can feel that way as they watch it. So yeah. Any other questions? We've got a little more time before I can throw on the BTS. Jason.
I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I happened to be there when he pitched the idea to him, and it's really cool to see it come to fruition. And I have to go, but I just wanted to say congrats.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Sinister Cinema Reviews, if you guys want to follow a great YouTuber, that's Jason right there. Take care, man. Yes, you had a question right in front of him.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, what were some unexpected challenges you faced, especially since it's such a short film, and I don't know, maybe some new unexpected projects?
We had 3 gloves for the film, and every single one of them broke at some point. When we were doing that, the claw reaching up through the covers, we intended to shred the covers. None of the claws were apparently made for functionality as much as display. And so
And I think, how many covers do we have? The only one, right? We're going to try to like keep rotating it?
We had to keep rotating it so that way it looked like fresh covers.
That damn Egyptian cotton.
Yeah.
Thread count was too high. We couldn't get through it.
1,000 thread count.
Yeah, I mean, it had to, Miko was very specific on the covers.
I
he
needed
was
my,
willing to sleep
bring
on.
my sheets. I can't sleep.
No, so that was one. The fact that the second day we were shooting of a 6-day shoot was the first day we were shooting with Freddie. We were going to be shooting with Freddie 3 days throughout the course of the project, and we're 1.5 shots in. We've gotten the reveal shot, right, the pan up on Freddie, and we were going in for the close-up of the boo, right? Those are the only 2 shots that you will see Freddie with the dental appliances that we made. Because as we were shooting the second part, he was like, this feels a little loose. And then he does it and it goes, and we're like, he's like, okay, I think it's in. We shot it like one more time, we finished the shot, and then he pulls it out and half of his front tooth comes with it. And so he's literally like the big tooth too. It's not like one of these over here, it's the big one. And he's just like, oh my God.
It's like Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Full on, man.
Absolutely. And so this happens, and we have 4.5 more days of shooting left to do, and 3 of them with Freddie.
We're about to lose our Freddie.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna act like I'm finding a dentist while I'm screaming on the inside. I don't know how this is gonna go. And they're like talking it out. And Dave just needed to process, right? He needed to process. He's like, let me go back to the dressing room. Let me get my mind around this. He's Canadian, so he got to go back to healthcare to take care of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, ultimately he sat on it, and and we kept telling him, we're like, honestly, looks pretty fucking good at Freddie. You know what I mean? Like,
after he had a minute, I went back to there and tried to talk to him and tell him, dude, this is a gift. Like, once you figure out with your insurance and you can get it fixed, if you need to do it when you go back, we're all here to film this. We're all part of a team. Nobody cares if you think it looks goofy. We know it's for the character, and it added to it. He didn't need prosthetic anymore. He looked like an undead, like with the makeup, with that addition, it made it real. And
it looked so good. Now we're gonna have to black out the bottom part of his tooth anytime we do anything in the future.
We just told him to channel it, man. Yeah. Use it. Just put that into the character. It was
so that was unexpected for sure, but it's something we rolled with, and it ultimately added to the character. So that's how you got to do it. Any other questions? Yes.
What was the name of the YouTube channel again?
We are on the Horror Show channel. Very, very simple. That's where the film will be played. You can see a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on there right now. The music video for the mashup of Dream Warriors and Running From This Nightmare, that is a whole music video available on the channel right now if you want to hear the whole song. So yeah, lots of cool stuff on the channel, and that's where it's going to release on Thursday at 9 a.m. Thank you. What else do we have? Yes?
I may be jumping the gun quite a bit, but has there been any discussion of possible Jason versus Freddy rematch?
Teehee.
Keep asking this question. Every time I think I'm out of fan films, you keep pulling me back in. Jesus.
Well, if you're interested in that, we do have a special perk available on the campaign. If you go to the Dylan's New Nightmare Finishing Funds campaign, you can get yourself a Neo Freddy versus Ghost Jason perk, where it's a cool photo we shot when we filmed the movie. But you know, there's no set plans, but we have had discussions on how it might work universe-wise. I'll say about that much.
We'll at least admit that these 2 stories are happening in the same universe.
Yes.
It's a whole universe that these things are happening. This is that world. And so we're, for fun, we're exploring it, I think, as far as a concept-wise. I think from my perspective, like Never Hike Alone 2 is coming to its own conclusion and getting to that place. So that'll be a place where Jason is at the end of that story. If we can get Dylan's all the way through and we can finish that story out, these 2 characters, I believe, at the end of that story, if they're still fuel in the fire. We still have the passion for it. I can still put on the Jason costume. Date, we're not like 80 years old by then.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
it
we
took
can
us
make it
5
happen.
years
Or
to
maybe,
make this
hey, maybe someday some studios start to realize that these independent productions are worth sort of pursuing and putting it on streaming channels. And maybe we get some real money to do that, because that's going to be an expensive one. So that's going to need a big crowd fund.
Yeah, exactly. Who's got $1 million?
Any millionaires out there?
All right.
Any tycoons?
Let's do a couple more questions, and then we'll roll the behind the scenes. We don't want to keep everyone here super duper late here. Any other? Yes, go ahead.
Thom, you were great with the editing in Chucky.
Oh, wow.
TV show.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite.
Oh, thank you.
Hell yeah, Tom.
And then Screen 6, gotta give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes. So he was at Mad Monster where we did our advanced screening, and he was just too busy, wasn't able to make it to the screening. And he's just such a hard guy to get in front of anyway. I think we were able to talk to him. We did a photo op with him. It's a fun photo op with me, Miko, and our Freddie, Dave McRae. We're all wearing our DNN gloves, and Robert's wearing a Nightmare 4 glove that I actually provided for the event. So it's a pretty fun picture. But we mentioned it briefly, but it was one of those things where everyone was getting 10 seconds with him and moving on, and so I don't know how much it actually registered.
He heard it, but we're not sure how much he heard it.
Right.
So if it's on his radar or not, he might hopefully see it at some point. So.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a statement. As I was the behind-the-scenes photographer.
Set photographer Alex Davis right here.
And,
so if you watch the credits, you'll see a lot of his work through the credits as it plays with the music and everything.
And I just wanted to say, thank you to everybody on stage. Like, you guys are freaking amazing. Like, you guys don't understand. As a fan film, quote unquote, every one of these people on stage right now, they listen to everything. It didn't matter what your title was or your role in the movie. If you had something to say, they all took it to heart and they all listened to it. And I think that's what made this so special, is the fact that these guys just they didn't dismiss you. They didn't just say, "Oh, I had the best idea." It was, if you had someone that's like, "Oh yeah, tell me about it. Let's talk about this. Let's find a middle ground. How can I use what you're telling me?" And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for being so open to listening to everybody on set, because we were all fans. We all wanted this to succeed. And so I just wanted to say you guys are amazing, and I'm so happy to be a part of this.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll bring you back next time.
Yeah.
All right.
We got very good at waiting for people to leave the room. I'm just kidding. No. It was awesome. It was such a collaborative atmosphere. That was a slow one, huh? It's rippling through the crowd. All right, so I think let's do one more question, and then we'll roll the BTS.
Yeah, she had her hand up over here.
Okay, please, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. And also, do you have plans to work together as another project going forward? And also, what are future projects that any of you are doing individually?
That's a good question. Dylan's New Nightmare 2, or if there's a big enough response, I definitely do have an original slasher idea, full-length feature that we would love to get going at some point. But yeah, this is the immediate thing for me that I'm most concerned with. Ben, what do you have going on coming up?
I might get Del Taco tonight. I don't know, is that in Arizona? I think if it's in there, okay, that's happening. No, I actually have my first feature film called Bone Cold dropped this summer. It's on Amazon Prime and Apple. Got bought by Wargo Entertainment, who did Train to Busan and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then I also directed and obnoxiously and stupidly starred in my own short film called Orchid, which will hit the festival circuit this winter. And it's very sad. It's not like this, so I highly recommend not watching that. But yeah, that's what I got going on.
Cool.
Yeah, excited for this to finally release after much hype and many years now. And then I did do a few days on another horror movie recently. It was right before the strike hit, and unfortunately they have one more day to film. They've had a lot of issues. And then the strike hit, so as soon as that's over, the goal is to shoot that last day. Hopefully it'll be out sometime next year. I can't say anything about it, but it is a remake of a classic horror film, so it was pretty cool to be a part of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Womp Stomp Films is a collaborative collection of people from around the world, artists from from front end to post end. So we're going to keep people coming back together for multiple projects. No matter who's directing, no matter where we're working, we're going to be wearing different hats for everybody. So there's definitely going to be a ton coming down the pipe. Never Hike Alone 2 is coming out Friday the 13th, October of this year. Long awaited for that. It's been a long time coming. Obviously, I'm very excited about this releasing next week. You know, Never Hike comes out probably 6 weeks after that. We have another a short film, an Italian giallo homage to short film called Bath Bomb, which is directed by a good friend of mine, Colin Cooper, which will hit the festival circuit this winter. And then I got a ton of projects for Womp Stomp that we're going to bring down the pipe and hopefully be telling you about more. One of them is Ghost Chicken. It's about a vegan restaurant that's haunted by the ghost of the chicken, and the one girl is determined to figure out why. I got a ghost hunting short called EMF that I'm going to have Tom Matthews play the ghost hunter in, and I'm attached to a few feature films. I can't say the names quite yet, but hopefully we'll get those scripts bought, sold, and we can make something for the big screen one of these days.
I'm really hoping Vin calls me for Ghost Chicken. But beyond that, Chucky Season 3 premieres in October. VHS 85 premieres in October on Shudder. And I'm working on my own short film that I'm directing as well. And yeah, that's it. So.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you guys very much. So are we set up there to roll the behind the scenes?
I just wanted.
All right. We'll clear the. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say a quick thanks to everybody that came, because we couldn't have done this without you. So as much as you're putting it this way, we're putting it back to you guys, because this is awesome.
And
I can't believe you guys all
the
came out.
Indiegogo is still open, so if you have not pre-ordered your Blu-ray or got something else from the film, definitely you can do that.
Yeah.
And get yourself a little memento.
Dylan's New Nightmare Finishing Funds is all you'd need to Google to get you there. It's pretty easy. Or come by our table tomorrow if you're here. We've got little flyers with QR codes. So anyone that is going to head out, not going to stay for the behind the scenes while we pull off the chairs, I'll go ahead and say goodbye to you, namely my mom. Hi. But thank you guys very much. We'll get this BTS rolling here in just a second.
All right. Thanks, guys.